Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Fog of War chess. In this variant, you can only see the squares your pieces can move to. The goal is to capture the king, and my goal is to win 3 games, but I will only play against higher rated opponents. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the white pieces against an 1800 rated opponent, and in this variant I'm always happy to get the white pieces because it gives you the opportunity to create that Fianchettoed bishop that can look down the long diagonal, which gives you a lot of vision into the board. Now we can clearly see this pawn on g7 means the opponent has not done the same idea. I'm going to assume they've gone with something like d5 if they're playing knight to f6, or potentially b6 and a Fianchetto on the queen side. We'll play knight to f3 in return. You can see we lost the ability to see f4 because we can no longer move our pawn there. Again, you can only see the squares that your pieces can move to. We can now see down this light square diagonal, and it's our turn again already. Interesting. I'm hesitant to block my own bishop in with the knight, so I'm going to play knight to d2 instead. We get some sort of mystery move, and my greatest fear is that we're going to get like queen to a5, and I'm going to have no idea it's there while my king is in check, because the game will not tell you if you are in check. That would kind of ruin the whole point of the mystery. Okay, we get another mystery move. We'll play bishop to e2. Part of the mystery is also not knowing where your opponent has castled, because for all I know, my opponent has already castled queen side or king side, left their king in the middle. For all I know, the king is on d5. I would be none the wiser. It's particularly unlikely that it's on d5, but you get the idea. Whoa, what was that? Okay, I can see this highlighted square because that means the knight has moved somewhere. So I'm gonna assume the knight has either moved back to d2 or maybe d5, maybe knight to h5. Actually, h5 would make the most sense. But there's no pawn on g7, which is very suspicious. There's also no rook on h8, which makes me think the opponent is castled on this side of the board. I'm going to play g4 to uncover that situation. And never mind. There's nothing on h5, nothing on f5. Otherwise, I would be able to see something there. We get bishop to f6. I could trade, but I'd rather just play d4. I still retain most of the control, or rather most of the visibility over these squares that I had before. And I don't give my opponent the pleasure of trading bishops. Conversely, my opponent can only see probably as far as e5, g5, h4 as well. Oh, it's our turn again. I didn't even notice. I'm going to play h4 and just go for the attack. I would love for my opponent to take, so I can just get rid of that bishop. And almost certainly there are not enough pieces protecting that. We get pawn to a6, nothing to be afraid of. We'll play h5. And obviously by my gameplay, you can tell that I'm banking on the fact that my opponent is castled kingside. There are 2 pawns there, that's promising, and they take with this pawn instead. Again, even more reason for me to believe that there's a rook here and they're trying to open up this file. Let's continue with c3, and my idea is queen to c2, long castles, and then bring more pieces into the game. I don't think I need to be concerned about a bishop because we just traded here. There wouldn't be a bishop here, otherwise I'd be able to see it. So queen to c2 should be perfectly safe and actually gives us some visibility into the position. We don't want to do anything too obvious. Okay, we can see the square because our pawn can move there, which means a piece moved away from there. I'm going to assume that was the knight that just moved. It didn't move here or else I'd be able to see it. So we'll go ahead and castle out of the way. We should be perfectly safe. I mean, I have really good visibility across the board. I absolutely take free knights. There's a pawn on e6. Now I don't actually know which piece it captured with, but I'm going to bring my rook to here. Okay, that means it captured with the e pawn. So bishop c4 may be of interest at some point. And again, I'm still very much willing to bet that my opponent is hanging out right here. It's my turn again. Bishop c4. Boom, looking at the king. Let's see if the opponent notices. Obviously, you can see the king is not highlighted. It will not tell you if you're in check. Whoa, the king moves out of the way, so the opponent is no dummy. They've figured out what's going on here. Question is, do I capture here and look for rook to h8? Or is the king sitting there on g7 waiting for me to make precisely that silly move? This is a tough call, but I don't have a lot of time to think about it, to be honest. You know what? Change of plans. I'm going to play pawn to e4. That's my new idea. And hope that there's not a bishop just staring down there, because that would be pretty bad. We'll take back with the knight. So far, so good, I'm pretty sure. I want to be able to bring more pieces into the attack. Okay, the opponent has moved and I have no idea where, so I'm assuming the attack is intact. We'll play knight to g5 as long as there's nothing staring at my king, but as you can see, our pawn can move to f4 and there's nobody there. If there was something on e3, I'd be able to see. We get bishop takes e4. I'm going to take on h7, counting on the fact that the king is there. Nice. That is basically checkmate. Let me re-explain that. That is checkmate. The king moves out of the way and we do take on g8 to win game number 1. Let's go to move on to game number 2. Actually, wait, before we move on, I do want to unfog the board. Oh yeah, this is pretty much what we expected. I didn't know about the knight on a5. I didn't realize the Fianchetto and the queen were there. That means that was a free knight at some point, but again, a little bit of this is bluff as well because you can't actually see your opponent's position. Okay, now let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2. Do not mind if I get the white pieces again. And we've got a 1570 rated player And now is a good time to say that the best that I can do in terms of rating restriction on chess.com is -50, so 50 points less than my rating, up to, obviously, infinity. So this opponent is technically rated 20 points less than us, but it's close enough that I think we should be in for a good game. And to be honest, that's the point of this. We'll play pawn to e3, get some good visibility. The point of me only playing higher rated players is so we don't encounter people that, are trying out the variant for the first time, aren't particularly fans of it, and then resign early. It gives us wins that don't really count or feel like wins. We get knight to f6, so far so normal. I'm gonna kind of hunker down with my king for these first couple of moves, like d3, knight d2, stuff like that, because my idea is that if a piece approaches my king, I definitely don't want to be caught off guard by it. Okay, we get some other mystery moves. We'll play knight to d2. So far, this position feels incredibly safe. Okay, that knight almost definitely moved to either d5 or h5. I'm willing to bet it's on h5 though, so I'm gonna play h3 and start a kingside attack. Okay, we get another move almost instantly. We get pawn to g4, and the knight is not there. Okay, so maybe the knight actually went back to d2, or actually did go to d5. c4 is worthy of consideration. It doesn't lose us any perspective, so we'll play there. Wow, that knight is almost certainly on d7. Okay, we get more moves. Still no idea what my opponent is playing. We'll play queen c2. I do want to castle long. Given the fact that this knight is moving so mysteriously, I'm going to assume that the opponent is not castled kingside. It's our turn again. We will castle queenside as well. The opponent plays instantly. Let's play h4 and see what's going on the king side. We'll move some of this fog out of the way. Wow, the knight is on h6. That is sincerely the last place I would have expected that knight to be. Okay, there must be like a bishop or a queen that can see down here. Otherwise, that knight wouldn't have moved out of the way. Now, in the perfect world, it's a queen here, and the king is still here or here. In the imperfect world, the queen is on e7, still being able to see the pawn, and the king is already castled. We're going to push h5 and hope that the king is here. To our move again, sure, h6. We'll move this pawn out of the way and see what's behind door number 1. And if there's nothing behind door number 1, then we can be sure there's something behind door number 2 and 3, because that almost guarantees a castle happened there. Now, the opponent is thinking about this a lot. Wow, okay, so I can take and see what's behind all 3 doors. Oh, there's no castle, it's just a fork. Okay, so we can take back. And unless there's a knight defending that, we're in a good spot. And it's just free material. So the rook really should move out of the way, which means it should disappear from our sight. Oh, the opponent doesn't even do that. Oh, because they don't know that we're threatening the rook. Interesting. Okay, I'm just going to take the rook anyways. Or maybe they are castled. Okay, that does not indicate to me that they are castled. Let's move the bishop back. I don't think I want to take here, but we get pawn to g4 almost guaranteed. We'll play knight to d4, which should be safe. Gives us some good look into the position. Oh, they had a fianchetto. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We'll go ahead and take back. If this rook disappears, too bad, so sad. There's almost certainly a queen looking down here as well. Oh, but it doesn't. Okay, we get pawn to e6. I'm just going to play rook back to d1. I'm sure there were some fun ideas by moving the rook to the back rank. I don't think it's necessary when we're up material. Despite the fact that the opponent is playing relatively quickly, we have managed to even out the time situation quite a bit. We'll play knight to e4. Oh, hello. I'm fine with a trade. Opening up the file for the rook means if I can manage to move this guy out of the way, maybe to b5, although kind of sketch if there's a pawn there on a6, and I get a pretty good sight into what's going on. We are officially up on time as well. And I'm going to be honest, I think this is where self-control starts to kink in a little bit, because it honestly is very tempting to play knight b5, even more tempting to take this pawn, which may or may not be free. It starts unleashing all sorts of attacks. But I think if we wait out the opponent, we might be in an even better spot. So I'm going to play rook to d3. Oh, the opponent immediately plays. We'll play the rook back, and I've just realized I lose control over the back rank, or rather lose sight over the back rank if I play rook d3, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. I was going to do like a battery where the rook goes in first, but I don't want to lose control over that. We get pawn to c6, so this is certainly no longer on the board. Let's play, I'm so tempted to just take here. Let's play e5 and see what's going on. Okay, there's nothing here. We might just lose this pawn, but that almost certainly opens up some ideas. Pawn to f5? You're telling me that's not free? You're telling me there's not a king or a queen here on d8, pinning whatever pawn might be defending that? That's a hard one for me to believe. Okay, I have no control. I've got to take. Okay, there's a queen here. That's super strange. The pawn immediately takes back, and there's nobody on the file, which is insane, but okay, that's good information, I guess. Let's play this. I'm going to try to debate the opponent into taking my bishop as if it were free. I don't even know if that's concrete at all, but it seems like a funny idea. Oh no, my bishop! And then it turns out there's a queen defending it. That would be quite funny. Okay, I guess we can just ignore it. We'll go ahead and take back with the bishop. Sure, I think that's fine. Opponent presumably makes a move. We'll play bishop to a3. Oh no, my bishop! Surely you want to capture that. Surely you want to gamble your queen. Oh, we get pawn to c5 instead. Boring. We'll defend the pawn with the bishop. Now I have to pay the price after running my mouth about self-control. I've played the probably one of the riskiest lines. Okay, why would they play that if there weren't a rook here staring down the barrel? Let's play bishop to e2. Pawn comes up to b4 almost guaranteed. Queen to c2. Problem is I don't see a way to break into the position. Okay, back rank is weak again. They might be looking to double up like rook and queen to take on a2. But even if that does happen, I can just shuffle out of the way and I think I'm totally fine. In fact, I'll actually do it right now with the idea of playing bishop to d1. Okay, that seems free, right? Because there's a pawn here, so nothing can hit the queen. Okay, something takes back. Oh, pawn almost certainly takes back here. Bishop d3, looking for a bishop takes f5. I need to start uncovering where on earth this king is. I guess I'll take. Okay, he's not there. I'm very afraid there's going to be something on the back rank, and I'm not going to know about it. Queen takes e5 allows me to take back with the bishop, almost guaranteed. Queen b2 is my next move here, because I cannot lose to a magical rook finding its way to the back rank. So queen to b2 keeps us nice and safe. Oh wait, the opponent doesn't have a rook, do they? Oh, they're just playing with pawns and the king. They have literally nothing on the board. I've just checked the side of the board to see what the opponent even has. They have nothing left. Okay, so I just have to not lose all of my pieces. And this is winning. Oh goodness, I was afraid of stuff that literally wasn't there, which I guess is the point of the variant, but oh, there we go. With that, we take the king and win game number 2. Nice. All right, well, that's good to know. We should probably be checking the side of the board to see what the opponent is actually even working with. Let's go to move. Actually, let's unfog this just out of curiosity. I want to see how this unraveled. Let's go back to the beginning of the game. Oh, they memed the knight around for a little bit, actually both knights, and played literally a nothing burger opening, and I was over here speculating, oh, the king might be castled, and they might have like the queen and the bishop lined up together. They played an absolute nothing burger opening, and I was horrified of it the entire game. All right, well, that's in the spirit of the game. Let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we are assigned the black pieces now. This opponent is higher rated, but not by a huge amount. Let's go for this look down the barrel. There's a pawn on e4, so I'm going to assume they're playing a relatively normal opening. They might even be going for 4-move mate, which would be quite hilarious. Let's play pawn to e6 to make sure that's not a possible idea. We get another move very quickly. Still no real idea what the opponent might be playing here. Let's play pawn to d6. Just developing normally, kind of possibly regrettably a little bit passive, but I think it's safer that way. We'll play knight to d7, knight to f6. The opponent must just be developing as normal. They might even have like a pretty normal setup. I'm going to assume they've castled at some point. We'll play bishop to e7 as well. Yeah, and I'm just going to play a totally normal opening. Pawn to c5, queen to c7. Yeah, they might even be playing the 10 magic moves here. We'll go ahead and take back with the b pawn to control more of the center. Okay, queen to c7. Long castling here is very tempting just because I really do think the opponent has played a normal opening. The question is, have they... Whoa. Pawn up. I take. 10 out of 10 days, I take that pawn. Take again. Rook takes means almost guaranteed they've castled this way. I don't know if I'm willing to believe that that rook is defended, but I'm not going to take it just to be safe. There have to be ideas here of taking on h2. There might even be ideas of mating on g2. Right, so the opponent has no idea what I played. We'll see if they actually defend this rook. If they move it out of the way, then I'm definitely going for this mating idea. Okay, they move the rook. I'm going to play this extremely quickly so the opponent thinks that I've played a standard move. Even though I am threatening mate. Okay, we take, and I'm pretty sure there's no knight here that is defending. So with that, we win game number 3. All right, let's go ahead and unfog the situation real quick and see what was going on. I'm pretty sure we called it from the very beginning. They just played a very normal opening. Yeah, they almost played the 10 magic moves, but they decided to fianchetto the bishop instead. Yep, pretty standard castle. Obviously, we waited to castle to see if the opponent would strike first. They did. That rook was in fact free, but I guess maybe there were some traps of like trying to take back with the bishop, although I would have been able to see the bishop as well. Maybe knight to a4, I don't know. But either way, we boot the rook, move the queen up. Funny enough, f3 there would have been totally stopping and actually would have put me behind in development, but we do take on g2 and grab the king. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what other chess variants I should play, and I will see you guys in the next one.